Simjack Pro pedal owners would agree that these are a great set of budget pedals, except for one thing, the stock brake spring setup, and many of us have already modded the brake spring stack to improve the feel, and from my perspective, I can highly recommend you do. I've shown you my take on a DIY mod in a previous video, you can find a link in the description for that. But today I'm testing the brake tuning kit from RSE Engineering. I have the full kit here composing of 5 elastomers and their preload spring. These parts are also sold individually, so you don't have to buy the whole set. Note at the time of recording, this product is not available on their website yet, but it will be very soon, if not already, by the time you watch this video. By offering 2 grades of hardness, you have ways to try different combinations, including combining the stock elastomers that are shipped with the pedals together with the RSE Engineering elastomers, or simply run entirely with a RSE Engineering setup. For reference, the stock Simjack elastomers are Shore 60A, and therefore softer than the 70 and 80A replacement ones. The new preload spring is shorter and thicker than the stock spring. I'm hoping this will make a good improvement, as I really don't like the original spring. The thing about this type of mod is it is subjective, so what I like and end up running may not be what you prefer, so what I'm going to do is try different combinations out and give you my feedback, and hopefully that will provide some guidance. My first setup is very simple, retaining the original Simjack Shore 60A elastomers, but swapping out the metal spring. Before we get onto the track, you can observe the compression of the spring stack. I've also devised a simple colour-coded key to identify the configuration of the stack and the brands, orange for Simjack and cyan for Simracing Engineering. This also displays the running order of the spring stack. So here we have the original Simjack Shore 60A elastomers that came shipped with my pedal set, followed by the RSE Engineering preload spring. Okay, that's simple enough to understand. Let's test this out. I didn't spend too much time with this first setup, it's just not good, but you don't know until you try these things. The RSE Engineering preload spring is a marginal improvement over the Simjack metal spring, but overall the brake feels very soft, lacking a progressive feel, and the pedal throw is far too long. But don't write off that preload spring just yet, as things do improve when combined with the firmer elastomers. But essentially, in this configuration, you get the same problem that the stock brake pedal suffers from, hence the reason why it needs to be modded in the first place. I'm having a tough time finding any level of consistency hitting my braking points. The pedal feels vague, and it really isn't working. In a word, terrible. So let's move on and try something else. Before that, just a quick tip to share. Rather than a loose fit, screw down the collar until it begins to feel tight to turn. This adds a bit of tension to the stack and compresses the preload by 2 to 3 millimeters. I think it just gives the pedal a better feel overall. Also be aware, by doing this, it actively pushes some weight into the load cell, so do double check that you've applied enough dead zone in the configuration to compensate. The Simjack 60A elastomers have now been swapped out with the RSE Engineering 70A elastomers, and it's quite a difference, and just to prove that, you can see from this picture-in-picture comparison versus the Simjack 60A elastomers. The 70A elastomers can seem to be firmer here, and I can clearly feel this too. Also observe how the preload spring is compressing next to the elastomers. The 60A elastomers compress together along with the preload spring, giving the pedal an overall mushy feel. But partnered with the 70A elastomers, the preload spring compresses first before the elastomers take over, and that's an important factor I'll cover in a moment. With these RSE Engineering elastomers fitted, the pedal travel is shorter than the stock setup, and now along with good progressive sensation, which was severely lacking before, so this is already a huge improvement. As I bear more force into the pedal, the elastomers become stiffer over the course of the travel. This is feedback from the pedal that I need to brake with good control, and importantly with consistency. I really have no complaints here. Unlike the progressive elastomers, the preload spring is a linear tension. It takes up about 20 millimeters of the overall pedal travel and adds a 2-stage element to the pedal. When the metal spring fully compresses, you feel it bottom out. Then the rest of the pedal movement is taken up from the tension and compression of those elastomers. This two-stage element is a repeatable reference point. When you feel the spring fully compressing, the braking force at this point is about the same each time. It helps you brake with a certain amount of consistency, and if you need to apply more braking beyond this point, you press more weight into the pedal and then you modulate the input from the progressive feedback from the elastomers. It's all about the balance of these materials working together, the way they compress and the tension they provide. If you prefer a shorter movement on the pedal, we can replace one of the 70A elastomers with one of the 80A ones. This reduces the pedal travel by 10mm to 35mm. The 80A elastomer is very firm, displaying only a very small amount of springiness. In my opinion, this configuration is the sweet spot for the Race Sim engineering mod. There's just the right amount of movement and tension that feels right to me, and when it is just right, braking becomes intuitive and easy. And don't listen to anybody that tells you it doesn't matter. It really does matter. If the spring resistance is wonky, you lose the benefit of the load cell and your braking will be hit and miss. I can guarantee that. Although I'm going to show you one final configuration in a moment, this setup, as I said, two 70A elastomers along with a single 80A elastomer, really does smash it. And this is the final combination. Well, kind of. The final combination that includes the preload spring. There is one after this I do want to show you, as we do have a bunch of these elastomers to play with, so I did run some further experiments. The firmest possible setup using this kit is 170A and two 80As. And if that's what you're after, you want a shorter pedal throw and a firmer pedal, you know, that might work for you. For me personally, this was okay, not exactly what I prefer. For me personally, if the brake pedal doesn't have enough travel and is a little bit too stiff, that increases the chances of me locking up the tyres a little bit in hard braking situations. And I did find that was the case here occasionally. If I spent a bit more time adjusting to this configuration, I expect I'd be okay in the long run. Now we get to the real final combination I wanted to test out, and you can see what I've done. Removed the preload spring and instead added another elastomer in that position. A preload spring is not always a feature of a load cell brake, the Fanatec CSL load cell brake being a prime example of this. Without the preload spring linear portion of pedal travel, a complete elastomer setup provides full progressive brake feedback. The sensation is of course different and I guess less interesting without that two stages that a preload adds. From a performance point of view, it's effective. My braking control is fine. I can happily run this type of setup. It's going to do a great job. And it is an option that's worth mentioning because it is effective. I also tried a 50-50 split of 70A and 80A elastomers. I don't have any recorded footage of that. It gives the pedal a very firm feel, but retains good progressive feedback. So definitely worth trying as well if you have the full kit. The Simracing engineering kit is versatile and should be durable, which is important too. The difference it makes to my SimJack Pro pedals is significant, a huge improvement, and crucially, necessary, transforming the vague, sloppy feel of the stock brake setup that I struggled with initially into a great feeling pedal that enables me to brake with good confidence and accuracy. On that basis, I can fully recommend the Race Sim Engineering SimJack Pro brake tuning kit. You have the option of buying single elastomer pieces to save some money, or get the whole bundle so you can try out different combinations. But as a reminder, I found the 70-70-80 and preload spring to be the best setup for me. On a side note, I did try combining the SimJack elastomers with the Race Sim engineering ones, and it was a complete fail. The SimJack elastomers are far too soft to work with the firmer Race Sim engineering elastomers. I thought it was worth mentioning that in case you figured it might be a way to save some money and just buy, a couple of elastomers from Race Sim engineering and then sort of putting them together like this. Trust me, it's a bad idea. If you're going to go down the Sim Race engineering elastomer setup, just buy everything you need to get that stack working for you. Finally, this kit is also compatible with the Simpson pedals. I haven't run the Simpson pedals with this kit yet, but I did test fit some pieces and they will work. So potentially a good upgrade for those pedals too. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy simming and bye bye. If you like my content, consider becoming a member to help support the channel. Click on the join button to find out more.